Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this program. Please visit our website, cscatlanta.org, for a complete list of live and recorded events. We invite you to sign up for our newsletter to stay connected to all future programs.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamil Hawkins. Like Lauren said, I am the Family Consumer Sciences Agent for DeKalb County Extension. Today we have Timothy Van Johnson. He is the Family Consumer Sciences Agent in Douglas County, and we'll just be here today talking a little bit about clutter. I know everybody has it, so it's not like it's something that's too taboo to talk about, but a lot of people don't like talking about it because it can be a very touchy subject for some. And some people are just okay with just, throwing things away and getting rid of and, lightening their loads and things like that. So today, this Clutter Curious presentation has come from a collaboration between Mississippi State University, the University of Connecticut, and also the University of Georgia Extension. And so those three universities have brought together all the research and information that I'm going to share with you all today. And if you have any more questions, I have my name here and at the end, and then we can also put it in the chat just for you all to have if you have any more questions outside of this presentation, or if you don't feel comfortable, asking questions in the chat, and just feel free to send us an email and we will get to you. So today on today's agenda, we are going to be talking about hoarding versus clutter versus collecting, because a lot of people can use them interchangeably, but they're three different things. And then also some reasons to declutter, why decluttering can be hard for some people, tips for some decluttering, how to figure out if you need help or need extra help, how to actually ask for that help, how to talk with other people about their clutter issues, and then also finding resources to help yourself and or your family. So it's not just a you thing, it can be your entire family's thing, so that we can all come together. So what does hoarding mean to you? You can think about it for yourself. You can put it in the chat if you want to, but just share your thoughts, or just think about what does hoarding mean to you? And we won't stay on this long. I just some ideas just to get it flowing for you. So hoarding versus clutter versus collecting. So normative collecting can be a fun activity, right? It can also lead to clutter that interferes with using the room of a home and how you want them to be used. So for example, if you collect the very popular like Ray Dunn pottery and have space for the collection and then also space for to use in your kitchen, the collecting might not be problematic, right? But if you have your collecting that turns into hoarding, is if you have that collection that takes up so much space that you no longer can use the space for storing your food, or even like your kitchen counters, or for be able to cook and things like that. So collecting is just being attached to, objects. That's normal. That's something that's always going to happen. But however, sometimes our number of possessions can increase to the point where we're no longer able to use our home in the way that we should be able to. So being able to use your countertops, being able to use your cupboards, things like that. And so what are some types of items that you collect or that you find that tend to clutter your home? I love, and I like to talk about myself because, I'm not like a finger pointer. I'm going to talk about myself because I go through things like this too. Just because I teach it doesn't mean, it all necessarily applies to my everyday life. So, but I love stationery. Okay. That's just been something that I have always loved. I was a paper collector when I was growing up. I love pretty paper. I love stickers. I love letters. Not letters. What are they called? Maybe letters. Yeah. Cards, collections of cards. I love having a card for every occasion. I have it. That's just my thing, right? Yeah, I have pals. Yes, I have clutter. It has taken over parts of my drawers in my room, and also, the junk drawer in my kitchen. I have that. And so a lot of people, yes, stationery, I love pens, yes. Candles, yes. And a lot of people tend to have paper, right? You get mail, you don't know if you want to shred it or if you have a shredder or if you want to keep it just in case, but then you have 10 just in case pieces of paper, and then that turns into 20 just in cases pieces of paper, right? And so that can just become like the things that you tend to find that clutter up your home. So hoarding disorder is a psychiatric diagnosis for individuals whose clutter has gotten to the point of interfering with their daily lives. So it's important for you to decide for yourself whether your clutter has become problematic. So the three main symptoms of hoarding disorder are the urges to save the items, the difficulty discarding the current possessions, and then also resulting in excessive clutter. So you can have a hoarding disorder without feeling like your home looks like, the popular reality TV shows that we might see. And so not everyone with a hoarding disorder has squalor or lives in squalor, or has lots of animals, or lives in with different types of the living situations that we see on television. So that's not what every hoarding disorder might look like, but it can still be that disorder. So, however, you may find that you need help with decluttering, even if you meet the criteria for hoarding disorder or not. So, sometimes we just need that extra help. Sometimes we need that friend to say, when's the last time you wore it? When's the last time you touched this? Throw it away or give it away. And I need friends like that too sometimes. So, hoarding is not about laziness, it's not about indifference or just being a slob, quote unquote slob. It is a complex mental health condition. So we have worked with lots of people who are hardworking, they're caring, they're often extremely organized in other parts of their lives. But they also still experience hoarding and being overwhelmed in their homes. So we haven't identified specific genes or structures in the brain, but hoarding is like most other disorders, something that might run in the family. So stressful life events. So sometimes in reaction to one event, people with hoarding are more likely to have experienced excessive physical discipline as a child, or they might have some disrupted relationships, so that trouble feeling close and comfortable with other people. They might have certain beliefs about their belongings. So lots of themes not that different from anybody else, and it could be things like emotional attachment or sentimental value, memories, responsibility, control. All of those things can play a role into somebody that might have a hoarding disorder. And so it's not, somebody that is, oh, they're just so lazy, they don't want to pick up after themselves, or, oh, they're just, they don't care about what their home looks like. That's usually not the case. And it is something that is deeper and more complex than what the main eye can see. So it is hoarding prevalence increases over the lifespan. Over 7% of older adults will meet the criteria for hoarding disorder. So we have also found that older adults with hoarding disorder report that their symptoms began in their 20s and their 30s and just increased in severity over time. So they just didn't get the type of help that they needed, or a lot of times it could be like, people's like the stigma around, being attached to things and hoarding and things like that. And so their just severity increased over time and they weren't able to get the help that they need. And so that's when you find, like, on uh Lifetime or on, those reality TV shows, that somebody might be living in a certain situation. So why decluttering can be hard? It is hard for the average person, okay? So sometimes it can be easy to set a goal around decluttering, but it can also be hard to follow through because, at the end of the year, everybody's like, oh, I need to donate by the end of the year to get rid of things for tax season, la 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 la. I'm gonna clean out my drawers. It's spring cleaning. I'm gonna do all the things, right? But when it's actually time to sit down and go through things, you're like, oh, but this is the card that my grandchild gave me when they were 2, and it's like scribbles on a paper, and it's great. We love it. It has sentimental value. But you also have 10 of those scribbles on a construction paper or something like that. Um, So it could just be hard to follow through. It can be easy to become overwhelmed when you have to make so many decisions about the things that you want to keep and the things that you want to discard. So sometimes this feeling can even lead to you acquiring even more items as a way to cope with that distress. Sometimes people get stressed out and then they go shopping and then they acquire more things. And then, it could be like a revolving cycle. So as we get older, making these decisions can also become more difficult. So distress just means a sense of grief or embarrassment over past decisions, feeling confused or unsure or worry about making the right decisions. So people can just go through distress, and then that can send them into wanting to acquire more things or save more things because we don't want to let it go. And then that just reinforces our avoidment, like, oh, well, I tried and it was too hard, so I'm just not going to do that again, right? But then it's time to make a decision about something, and it's like, no, I think I want to keep it. And then that's like that cycle of keeping it all together in our in the household. So these are just some day-to-day reasons to declutter. You have to find your own reason for wanting to declutter. It can be living situations or wanting to increase your mobility around the home. Sometimes we might have a little pile here, a little pile there. Sometimes we accidentally knock that pile over, and that can become a hazard for some people. Even in our working spaces, if you have like a spare room or that's the hobby room. It can just be reclaiming space to pursue another hobby. I know a lot of people that love crafting. We tend to, and I say we because I too am a part of the crafting community. We tend to, buy our crafting items, and then it's like, oh, well, I'll do this project, or oh, I'll start this project, oh, I'll start this project. And then you look up and there's 10 half started projects that need to be done, but there's nowhere to do it. Like the kitchen table's already full, so now I have to move to the other room, and then that place ends up getting full, and it's just once again a cycle. And then also another reason could just be socializing, having a family over for holidays. And so you just have to find your reason for wanting to declutter. Yes, somebody's saying that their reason is having a working space. Yes, because sometimes we just need that extra table space to be able to do things, and we just don't have it because it has little piles of things everywhere. Um, People tend to have a variety of reasons to declutter, and these are just those three main groups of a living, working, and socializing, and those usually the reasons that we have will fall into those three categories. So some overall tips for decluttering, and this will be dependent on you. Like I said, everything that I will say will just depend on how you work. You have to know yourself. Like I know myself. I know that if it's the reason why I have a lot of clutter is if I put it away, I'm gonna forget about it. So I like having my things out so I can see them. And that leads to clutter, right? That leads to me having like five different piles of things that I want to get done, but as soon as I put them in a drawer or I say I'm cleaning up or something, I forget about it. 6 months later, I'm like, oh yeah, here's that folder that had the things in it, and I didn't do it because I put it in the folder and put it in the drawer. So that's my reasoning of having tips that I need to find that work for me. So you need to find things that work for you. So not everything is gonna apply to you, but take what you can and then leave the rest that doesn't apply to you. So some tips for decluttering is focusing on one small area or one small category at a time. If you have a giant room or you have a room of whatever you have, focus on the corner, just a small little corner. Don't start with the entire room because then you'll be having making a bigger mess of the of the room that you already have. Start small, get that in order, and then move on to another category. So if you're just going to be working on, let me just get all of the envelopes that are empty, that are just sitting on the counter, let me just get rid of all the envelopes first. That can be day one. Okay, nobody said this had to be done today. It could be done over the course of the week. It could be done over the course of a month, whatever that looks like for you, whatever your time looks like for you. So it can just be, let me get rid of all of the empty envelopes. And I'm just going to pick that out of all the piles that I have. And by the time you probably have a stack of empty envelopes that you weren't going to do anyway, anything anyway, and they're already ripped open and, whatever, and then recycle those. Okay, that's day one. And then day two is I'm going to find or separate everything. This is going to be like bills. This is medical things. This is spam. This is, student loan things. Oh no. Student loan, pals of whatever, Nelnet or whoever sent you something. And so now I'm just going to organize through the pals and see, what's what. That's day two. You're done. Okay. Start small. And then day three can be something like, oh, I'm going to find all the things that are like way past, like they're done. I already took care of this. I'm already done with this. And so those are the things that you're going to go through pile by pile and then discard that way. So start small, start in one small category so that you don't get overwhelmed because yes, it can be a tornado. And so also set up bags or boxes for a keep, a trash, a recycle, or donate, and then sort through those things. Especially when you have things like clothes. Oh, I love a good piece of clothing. Shoes. I love shoes. I love bags. That's me and my mom. That's how we bond. And so I know that when it's time or at the end of the year, that's usually when I try to go through my wardrobe is at the end of the year and in the middle of the year. Those are my two times a year. I'm not looking at it any other time. But I have designated those and I have my pals. My pal is keep and recycle or trash. That's it. I can't do any, or not keep and recycle, keep, donate, or trash. And that's it. I can't have any more pals than that. I can't have a maybe pal because the maybe is going to turn to a yes. And let me just keep it. Let me see. No, no, no. I have a keep, trash, and a donate. If it doesn't fall into one of those things, I don't know what to tell you. But you have to find out what works for you, right? And then another, like I said, some people have a maybe pal. I'm not a maybe person because then I'm gonna keep it, and then it's gonna be another year where I don't wear it or I don't, use it or something like that, and I have to. Then the next year I'm gonna be like, oh well, maybe next year. No, 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 no. That doesn't work for me. It might work for you, okay? And then also having those buy nothing groups on Facebook are always an option. A, a lot of people, especially if you're in the same community or have like a really good community, having an kind of like a yard sale of sorts, but bringing things that you want to, they're in good use, and just giving them to other people that might need it, and then donating the rest that nobody picks up or something like that. And then also selling items can take some time and effort, but if there are something or if you have items that are of some value, then that can also be another option for you. And then you can also have the container method. So that is thinking about your space that you can dedicate to a category. And then you want to work on decluttering until the items fit. So if you say, for me, my stationery, okay, I have one box that has like the different filing methods in it for my cards. It sucks, I know. Oh, but I love my good cards. And so I have, you know, birthday cards, Christmas cards, Easter cards, um, condolence cards, things like that. And then I have to put them in a category. And then the things that don't fit, then I either have to go ahead and send it out. That's how I get rid of things. Or see if I can find a friend that wants a card because I always end up getting the cutest cards. I'm just saying. But having a container, so like if you know that you only have a certain amount of space for some shoes and you only can put your shoes in a certain box or container or a shelf, then all the things, all your shoes must fit into that box. And then the pairs that you really have been like a maybe or if they don't fit onto the shelf, then you have to get rid of those. That's that container method. And then you can also pick the number method. So picking a number of an item that you want to own. So it can be 3 clocks, 50 shirts. If you are a mug person, I have a friend that is a mug person everywhere we go. She wants to get a mug, and I'm like, how many mugs do you own? And she's like, well, but this one doesn't look like any of the other mugs that I have. Okay. So it can be you only want to have 10 mugs. And so you have to go and find your top 10 mugs out of the collection that you have. Or it can be, I want to only have 20 pairs of shoes. And then you have to go through your shoes and find all 20 pairs that you want to keep and then donate the rest. So you can have your different methods. Some, give you a little bit more wiggle room than others if you need that extra room. So don't feel like you have to one method is going to work best for you. You have to just know what works for you and then try things out as they come. So, questions to ask yourself when you are going through that decluttering process that nobody wants to ask those for yourself. So, sometimes having a friend come and ask you those questions will be very helpful because usually, most of the time, you have a friend or a family member that you know that you'd be willing to do this for them. So, why shouldn't you ask for them to be able to do this for you, right? So I know I have a best friend. She is the greatest friend in the world, but she's also very hard. She will tell me about myself. And I love that. And I love her for that because, I'm a little whimsical. I'm a little la-di-da-di-da. And she's just like, no. When was the last time you wore this? When was the last time you used this? And she doesn't take my little half he answers for she doesn't take those. I have to answer her and we have to go through these. So think of these questions when you are or having your a family friend or whoever ask you these questions and pick like the top 2 or 3 or 4 that work for you. So when was the last time you used this? How often have you used this? How much do you actually love it, or is it just there, right? How hard would it be to replace it if you missed it? If you have 10 black shirts, is it hard to find another black shirt? Or is it like this special limited edition jeans that you got on vintage? They only made 5 pairs and you have that one of the 5 pairs. It might be very hard to replace that one. So we might want to keep it or repurpose it or do something for it. But if it's, getting rid of the 15 red shirts that you have, you can probably pare that down to 5 red shirts. And so would having a photo of this item just be enough? Some things just don't work in the house. And so, just having a photo of it to, remind yourself of the memories or whatever the case may be, will that work for you? And then having how many similar items do you have? Like I said, I have a friend that loves a good mug. She has plenty of mugs. And she's running out of space very quickly, rapidly for her mugs and her mug shelf. Usually the shelf has 3 in the cabinet and all 3 filled up with a mug. But that's her thing. So, and she actually goes through them pretty regularly. So I'm not here to judge. And then also, how important is it to have more space? How much would letting go of this item or ones like it help me? So sometimes it's, you're thinking of the bigger picture. You want to have family over for the holidays, but your dining room has been your dump all space for a couple of months. Okay, it is what it is. So is it important for you to have this space so that you can host your family and friends when they come over for Christmas or holiday season, whatever the case may be? And so think of that while you are going through this process, because sometimes we can get stuck on the right now, the here and now. This is how I feel, but we don't get the bigger picture, when the holidays come around, I want to be able to eat dinner with my entire family at one table instead of having us a little spread out here and there, because I didn't have the room for everybody. So just some challenging questions that you can also think of, especially if you have like adult children or if you have, younger children or whatever the case may be. So goal-oriented ones is, does it fit with my important values? Is this truly important or does it just seem like it because I'm looking at it? Do I want this taking up space in my home? Have I used this in the last year? Do I have a specific plan for this item within a reasonable time frame? What is reasonable? Okay. Is reasonable within the next few months? Is reasonable in the next few years? Think about that. And then also, would I choose it again if I didn't already own it? And so also think about it's okay to let go of things that you thought you would use, but you no longer would need. I know you already bought it. Oh no, I already have it. So I should want it, right? No, that's not always the case. That can go for arts and crafts, like paper supplies, like I said. People that are crafters, we tend to collect a lot of things. And so it's okay if you no longer want to do that craft, or if that craft no longer, brings you the joy that you once had and you want to give it to somebody else to see. There are some different places actually around the Atlanta area where I think it's called Scraplanta. That is where you can donate some of those arts and craft items. And yes, and like in the chat, sometimes it feels a little strange donating to the bigger donation places. And so there are some smaller thrift stores or donation centers that you'll just have to find separately that might not be the big, the big box donation centers that most people are used to donating to. But there are some smaller organizations that do take items. There are some, different types of shelters or different things. So if it falls within your values, it could be a men's shelter, could be a women's shelter, domestic violence, whatever the case may be. There are some different items for everywhere. If you are not wanting to donate to the bigger donation centers. And then, like I said, just it's okay to let go of things, hobby items, clothes that don't fit who you are now, clothes that just don't fit. I know. I know. And that's okay because it is what it is at this point. So sometimes they're just not comfortable anymore. Sometimes they just don't make you feel as good as what they once did. And then also it can be items of deceased pets, or if you have whatever the case may be, you can donate them to a local shelter if you do find that the items that you have are still good to donate for others. Um, and so, yes, in the chat, feel free to share the different places that you have donated items to, if you feel like it would be a good place for others to know as well. And so, just some strategies for success. So, for most people, slow and steady does win the race. Okay. It's not, I'm going to declutter my entire house by tomorrow. That is not sustainable. That's not something that's going to happen. Even with the 24 hours in the day, if you stay up, it's not going to happen. And that's okay because it doesn't have to be done, or unless you have something to do tomorrow, whatever. But it's not going to it's not something that has to be done tomorrow. Okay. So finding a time when you can actually regularly declutter. I know that if you are working, or if you know that you're having a busy week, if you know that I have 6 night meetings this week, and it's just not sustainable for you to say, I'm going to come home after a very long day. It's already 9 o'clock when I get home and I'm gonna try to declutter this week. That's not, I'm not telling you to do that because I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm if I'm having a late week, or if the week's just not a good week to have or to do things outside of just coming home and resting, then find that week or set aside that time to say, okay, well, this is a good week for me. I don't have much going on at work. I don't have much going on in my personal life. So I'm going to come home every day and do 10 minutes, set a timer, get it done in 10 minutes, find my little pal that I'm going to work with, and then do that. Yes, having goals of doing things after work, after dinner, after they go to sleep. I have found for myself that if I take my shoes off when I get home, then I'm done for the day. I have to come in the house and just go straight to what I'm doing. I have to come in the house and I have to start dinner, or I have to come in the house and I have to start cleaning up my space. I have to come in the house and start washing clothes or whatever the case may be. Because as soon as I get comfortable, I start getting, oh, maybe tomorrow. I start hitting the, oh, after my 30-minute show on Netflix, oh, let me eat dinner first and then I'll see about it. And knowing good and well after dinner, I'm going to sleep. So you have to commit to yourself, or at least commit a good time frame for you. 10 minutes is a good, 5 minutes is even good, whatever works for you. Because sometimes we have to start small. So we say 5 minutes, that could be a mountain for somebody. So it can be, I'm going to start with a minute of just picking up things in my home and putting them back. Okay, that works for you. I'm proud of you. And so just also reward yourself, because it is something to be rewarded. Maybe if you're getting rid of a lot of clothing, don't go reward yourself with another shopping spree of clothing. Maybe like go get you some ice cream or something else like that. But you can reward yourself for your hard work, especially if you have set a goal and you have reached your goal and you have or surpassed your goal that you might have. So once you've made a decision to discard or recycle or donate it, actually donate it. I have driven around with a bag of donations in my car for a month or so, after I said I was going to donate it. It doesn't help others if it's still in the back of my trunk, okay? Or if it's still sitting by the side of your door waiting for you to take it to the donation place, okay? So actually discard the items or actually donate the items. Get them out of your door, out of your house, out of your car, and make sure that you're actually that's the ending part of it. We can say we have done the work at home and then we have it all in a black trash bag and then it sits in the car for the next few months. Actually get rid of it, okay? And then also we always think about the items that we're losing, but think about what you're going to be gaining from that, and what you can do with the new space that you might have. Yes, Timothy?
Yes, I just wanted to pass on a question that's in chat, and I see some folks already throwing out some answers. That's great. Thank you for helping with that. Someone asked, what is the best place to donate children's clothing, toys, books, etc.?
So we can't specifically say a particular place, but if somebody does have any really good options, like I said, yeah, like Timothy said, there are some good places out there that people have been suggesting. So if it's in the car for too long, you just throw it away. Hey, whatever works best for you. But yeah, so we can't give a particular place of where to donate to, but if you do have or finding something that aligns with your values, or a different organization that that works for you, then Google some different like keywords that you were looking for, and I'm sure that something is going to pop up for you. And so then also some different strategies for success is to start with the easy things and then work your way up. Sometimes we have things that are very sentimental. Like I have, or my family, my grandmother had passed away during COVID times. And so we still have some of her things that we have not gone through. Okay. We have gone through a lot of the other things, but her specific like personal items we haven't gone through just because it's a little touchy. It's my mom's mom, a little touchy subject. We're not, whatever, whenever you get ready to do it, it's not a lot of things, but it can be a touchy subject for some. So start with the easy things, the things that like you can just go ahead and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and get over it with that. But then also just be kind to yourself when it does come for sentimental things or working your way up to some of the bigger items that you might have more emotional attachment to. And the last strategy for success that I stress, that I will stress to you all, that I've stressed to friends, to families, is asking for help. I know that we might all have, a friend or a family member that you would do anything for, okay? That y'all have, that's your bestie, that's your soulmate, your platonic soulmate, your love soulmate, whoever it is. You will ask them, or you would do anything for them. So why wouldn't they do that for you, right? So all of that is to say, ask for help if you think you need more help, or than what you do. And sometimes we don't even know if we need extra help. So try starting on this process. And then if you find that it's a little bit harder for yourself when you're by yourself, then go ahead and just start with that, asking that question to ask for others. So some storage items for sentimental items, go digital, okay? I know that I have lots of like family photos that are the printed out piece, like photos. And they're all in the photo books, the photo albums, and we have started to digitally scan them in so that, in case of worst case scenario, a fire or whatever, a flood or whatever, active, nature, we will still have those items digitally, instead of just losing them all, as they are in their photo albums. And then also think to remake or repurpose or recycle some items. Another gift that my mom had given me and my brother is we had t-shirts for days, okay? You have t-shirts from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, every extracurricular activity that we've ever done, every race that we've ever been in, every, whatever we have. And so she actually got us gift cards to this place that turns your t-shirts into quilts. So instead of having 50 t-shirts, I now have one full size quilt that I can put on my bed or wear, or just have an extra blanket laying around that we always need. And so we have that, and so that is one of the like repurposed things that we have had, because I can't fit a 2 t-shirt that I had from elementary school, but I can have a little cutout of like the front or the back, and it has like our names on it and things like that that have been put into that quilt, and you can still remember those memories. Um, Also, you can have items like making old jeans into tote bags. I know that they've had like making shirts into teddy bears, like those memorial bears and things like that, or turning baby blankets into pillows. So if you are looking or have those sentimental items that you can't use or wear, or whatever the case may be, then you can always repurpose those into a new item that you can show off. Or I like, another reason of saying this is if you have lots of scribbles or "we love you grandma" pieces of paper and things like that, turn them into artwork. Putting them in a frame so that it looks, or you can put it along with your decor, so it's not just a stack of papers that are just sitting in an old filing cabinet, that you can actually display and have those. And so, how to figure out if you need help. So, like I was saying before, asking for help, but how do you even know that you need extra help? So, sometimes we don't even notice those small changes in how we use our space until it actually becomes a big problem. So, for example, you might not have noticed your guest room have becoming overly cluttered until you want to use it to host your grandkids, or a cousin's coming in town, or your best friend flew into town, and you like, "Oh, come to my house." And then you look in your guest room to go put the sheets on the bed, and you have a stack of laundry that has just been there on your bed. We just don't even see the clutter creeping in, until it's there, or until you need it. And it can also be places like kitchens, where your counter space, that real estate just slowly has been disappearing, and you don't even have space to cook, or putting another appliance or something like that. So How to figure out if you need help is asking yourself and actually being real with yourself. Because sometimes, we can say, but we're using the best case scenario for ourselves. But being real, really real for yourself is, are you being distressed by your clutter? If you look at, that extra guest room and you're just so overwhelmed that you just close the door because you're like, I don't even want to look at it. Like, I can't do that right now. Let me just close the door. And once the door is closed, it's forgotten about, right? Are you losing functionality in your spaces or your rooms? Does the clutter take up so much space as you're aging? And so your clutter levels may need to be adjusted over your lifetime. So health consequences of excessive amounts of clutter. So 66% of people that have cluttering disorder report that they never have friends or family come and visit. I just don't like having friends and family come to, I don't like people at my house. That's just me. That's a me thing. But it's not because I can't have people over. I just don't like people at my house. But that's just me. But if you're somebody that wants to host, or you're like, I want people to come over, but you just feel like you can't have people coming over, 66% of them say, or people say that they don't have friends or family visit. 72% are unpartnered and are living alone. 25% report to have an insect infestation in their homes. 63% are concerned about falling. And then 58% report that their home is a fire hazard. So married participants report that lower clutter levels, but they still have that urge to save, and have a difficulty discarding items. And so this is a sample of 71 treatment seeking older adults. And so this is just a thought of this. So association between hoarding and a relationship status is probably something that we can correlate, but hoarding pushes people away. So living with somebody puts that external control on clutter. But just especially if you are living by yourself or living alone or don't have a lot of family that come over, just be aware of these statistics so that you can know when or if you need to have help. So asking for help, progress, not perfection. We are not looking for perfection here. I will never be perfect. Okay. I will tell anybody no. Like, I strive for progress. I am a one baby foot step in front of the other kind of person. So just thinking about for yourself, identifying a trusted medical professional or a loved one. Like I said, we might have that one friend that we do anything for, and so why can't you ask them the same of them for you? Asking for helping finding resources or if they can help themselves, and then just be patient with your progress. Be very kind to yourself. Remember that the clutter didn't accumulate in a day, and it will take more than a day to discard. So if you are, wanting to set goals for yourself, and your goal is to have all this done in a day or in the weekend or in a month, even if it took you years to accumulate some of the things in your home, it might not take you a month or a weekend to get rid of everything. And then you'll just burn yourself out as well, making all those decisions in such a short amount of time. So we just want to make sure that you're being kind to yourself, being kind with the people, especially if somebody has asked you for help, being kind with them as well. So, how to talk to other people about their clutter issues. It is a difficult topic. That's just period. So you want to pick out a right time and a place to talk to your loved one about their clutter. So generally that should be when you both or the other person has like a calm feeling, they're not agitated already, they're not already fired up and hyped up about something else. Usually they should be feeling calm and in a place that makes them feel safe. So like not bringing it up after a fight or in public. We don't want to embarrass people, so we just want to make sure that person feels supported. So your motivation should be to help the other person, not because of your own interests. So a good example is helping an aging parent staying in their home or facilitating them downsizing to a more functional living space. And a not so good example could be not wanting to deal with the person's clutter after they have passed away, and like telling them that to their face, right? So if you live with that person, it can be a little bit different. So you might want to be able to look out for your own interest and well-being as well, but try to keep that conversation as non-judgmental and focused on actually problem solving and not blaming. They have that expression, if you point with somebody, there's three fingers pointing back at you. So we want to make sure that we're looking at problem solving and not being, too judgmental or judgmental at all of them expressing their help, expressing to you that they need help. So when you approach the person, you want to try to already have a plan of action to suggest, or even two or three, because, saying to somebody, you need to do this, and then not having any suggestions to help, that doesn't help anybody. It might just irritate them more. So trying to have suggestions or even different alternatives to those suggestions when you do bring it up to somebody, so that they can feel like that there is a way, or it's possible to be able to get this done. So this can be something as simply as offering to help them declutter. So meeting like once or twice a week for a few hours at a time to go through some things with them, driving them to the donation center or to the recycling center, or having identified a therapist in your area. If you have had a friend that knows somebody that knows a good therapist or doctor or whoever the case may be, like just identifying that person and saying like, here's somebody that I found for you, or I'll come over the weekend and then we can go through some of the things, and then we'll go out to eat for lunch, something like that. Something that'll end up on, we're ending on a high, going out, or just being with that person, or even helping them drive to that donation center so it won't sit in their car for a couple of weeks or months. Cough, cough for me, months. So you can't force anybody to address their clutter. We want the best for people, but we cannot force somebody to do something that they are not willing to do something about. And so this is a book. It's called Digging Out. But if you are interested, this is like one of the many resources that has been written by an expert, and so it might be helpful. So if you are interested in looking at this particular resource, there are things like this out there that are written by experts. So in the United States, grandparents and to a much lesser degree, different relatives are they're almost 3 million children are their legal primary caregivers to their grandchildren. And so if you do have grandchildren and you are like above the age of 60, or, might have some physical limitations or stress or challenges in that role, this does have a major impact upon, the usage within your household. You might have some smaller children, they are so tall, they have lots of energy, they are, just little little energizer bunnies running around. And so it might help to develop those daily routines for your grandchildren if you do have them as a primary caretaker or caregiver. Create spaces for their belongings so that they know, like, this is where my lunchbox goes, this is where my book bag goes, this is where my jacket goes. And I know that these are the places that they go, so that they don't create extra clutter or things around the house, especially if they're left on the floor. They could become a tripping hazard, and we don't want that as well. So that also teach children how to do chores and where to keep their things. I like telling this story because I think it's hilarious, but some people probably don't think it's as funny. But growing up, you're a child, you don't really know how to do things unless people tell you how to do things. And so one weekend, my mom and dad were like, clean your bathroom. And I was like, okay, great, I'll clean my bathroom. And so I go cleaning the bathroom down. It's time to do the tub. And I just decide to witch's brew the different chemicals together, close the door, and I'm in there scrubbing. And then my dad finally comes back and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm cleaning the bathroom." And I'm about to pass out because, I've mixed different solutions and things together. And so teaching children how to do chores and not exactly just telling them to do something, they might not know the exact way or how to do it properly. And so I say this all to say sometimes just telling them to do something, they'll figure out how to do it, but it might not be the way that you want them to do it, or it might not be the proper way to do it. So we have to remember that sometimes, children, they don't know. And so we have to teach them how to do things. And how to clean and how to put things back, because those are those learned habits that people have. Having like a labeled basket for each child's name if you have multiple children in your household, and then everybody taking a few minutes to sort items into baskets, putting them away, putting that into your daily routine of we're gonna pick up after we get home. Everybody has 5 minutes to pick up their items, and then we're gonna go about the rest of our day. And then also being sure to praise your efforts like you would praise your own efforts, and try to be a role model in the things that you want them to emulate for them. So this is a action plan. It doesn't have yours doesn't have to look like this. It could be some variation of this. If you're a more technical person, you can, put stickers and pictures and whatever the case may be. If you're somebody that likes to write things down on the back of an envelope or on a little notepad like I have here, then whatever works for you. But just think about the things that go into this action plan. So the first thing is having a goal. So the goal on this page is I will sort through my grandmother's collection of 60 coffee cups. That's a lot of coffee cups, okay? Grandma had a really big collection of coffee cups. But that is the goal, is just to sort through them and to get through them. And then also making sure that you have a deadline. So when you are making your action plan, you need to have a goal and then you need to have a deadline, because this cannot go on forever. It might take a little time. This due dates can be, whatever, they can be spaced out accordingly, or they don't have to be back to back, but we do need to have a deadline for the different goal that we have. You can have due dates like this goal does too, but it just depends on what the action plan is, or what you're trying to do, what your goal is. But then you also can have your action steps. Sometimes people can just think through these things and be like, "Oh, I know I need what I need to do next. Oh, I know what I need to do next," and then just jump from one action to the next. But then sometimes some people need to write it down to have it all thought out. I'm somebody that likes to talk it out. I'll call a friend and I'm like, "Okay, this is what I need to do." And then I'm like, "I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this." And she'd be like, "Why did you call me?" I'm like, I needed somebody else to listen, just to like hear any holes in my plans. And then, things like that. So have your due dates, and so have these action steps. And so like we were saying, these action steps don't have to be um you know done in the same day. These are spaced out over the course of 4 or 5 days. So on March 15th, you need to decide how much room I have dedicated to grandma's coffee cup collection. And then you have decided to dedicate one shelf in your kitchen cabinet that holds 10 coffee mugs. So you have to go from 60 coffee mugs to 10. And then the very next day, you need to clean off the space that the mugs will go, and then gather 3 boxes for sorting. The same day, you're going to clear space to sort the mugs. So on your dining room table, you're going to have a donate, a throwaway, and a keep boxes. The same day, you're also going to place all the cups that real easy. They're all chipped, they're all cracked, and they're all unusable. So those are all going in the throwaway boxes. So that's something that you don't even really have to think about. That's just something that is very practical. They're chipped, they're cracked, I can't use them, so these are just gonna throw away. And that's the very first step. And then the next day, they think, "Oh, I'm gonna pick 10 of the favorite coffee mugs that you have." And then the March 17th or the same day, is placing all the rest of the mugs in the donate box. And then the very next day, not next week, not a month later, they actually take that box. It says to Goodwill, but it could be any donation place or other charitable organization. What? So it took 4 days to get through this, but it's done. And then it actually ends because you took that donation out the house. It's gone. It's not in your possession anymore. And so whatever this might look like to you, it can be as much as having your goal written out, your deadline, your due dates, your action steps, but it can also be you have your goal, okay, I want to get this done by 2 months from now, whenever, somebody's birthday is, or whenever my friend says she's coming into town and wants to spend time with me at the house. And then you know what to write that as. So keep that in mind. These are just some of the action plans. And I can send this to Lauren to send out to you all so that you can have that resource for you as well. And then I also see in the chat that some people have some other resources that they use that work well for them. And so one way might not work for you, another way might. So whoever and however you learn best or do things best, then find that way that works for you. And just some final thoughts on everything is dealing with clutter is normal. It's not something that, your neighbor doesn't have. It's not something that your friends or your family doesn't deal with. Everybody has some sort of clutter within their lives. Y'all should see my desk right now, okay? I'm not going to show it to y'all, but y'all should see it. So everybody, clutter is normal. And then also just thinking that help is out there. If you do find that you just need that extra person that's sitting there with you that's saying, no, you need to throw that away. No, you need to give that away because you don't ever wear it. If it goes from like, as simple as that, or as much as you needing more professional help or things like that, there is help out there. So don't feel like you are stuck in your situation, or feel like you are stuck in your situation, because there's always room and there's always people willing out there to help in that situation. So just think of choosing one action to take. It doesn't start with doing everything today. It's not doing everything tomorrow, even. Sometimes it's just thinking about what you need to get done and then making a plan for that. So if your action today is going to be decluttering one area of your home or one area of your desk, which I'm about to do once I get off this call because it's Friday and that's usually my clean your desk off day. So I usually take a few minutes to 30 minutes and clean my desk off from the week. And so decluttering one area for 10 minutes a day. And sometimes that action can be making a plan to declutter 1 to 3 times a week, knowing yourself, knowing when your schedules are. If you know that you always have something on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for whatever extracurricular or whatever, things that you're doing with your family and friends, then try to think on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are going to be my days that I'm going to pick up for 10 minutes and try to get things done then. Pick one person to ask for help and then actually ask them this week. Like we said, I have friends that I know I'd do anything for, okay? So why wouldn't they do things for me as well? So I'm sure you have those people in your life. And so picking those people and asking them and actually asking them can be your step one. And then if you want to help a loved one, generate at least one potential idea to show them how you can help, and then also offer it this week. So make sure we're being kind to others, being kind to ourselves. And these are some of the resources. So there is the International OCD Foundation that can help you find a therapist. You can talk to your primary care provider about some different medication options or just other options that might be available in your area. This is a part of that right size training that we give out for UGA Extension. But then there's also free treatment going on, ongoing research for the Mississippi State University. So we are not in Mississippi, so this might not be, but they have a virtual option as well. So if you are interested in that, please send me an email and I can get you in contact if you wanted to try the virtual option, or if we see if that option is still available for us. So what I know for sure is that when you declutter, whether it's your home, your head, or your heart, it is astounding what will flow into that space that will enrich you, your life, and your family. And that is Peter Walsh. He's a clutter organizer. Another one that I like to have, if your fists are held so tightly, what you don't have enough room to open your hands to receive anything else. So that is what I have for you all today.
Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this program. If you're interested in other live or recorded programs, please visit the online program tab of our website, cscatlanta.org, or follow us on Facebook. We'll be sharing additional information on upcoming programs.